G'day everybody, Tim from Beef It Up Australia and Let's Get Rural, and I'm here at the Mate's Hotel in Koondrook, and I'm talking to Shane, the publican. How are you, mate?
Alright buddy, yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. How long have you been here?
The wife's owned it for over 30 years, we've been back 7 years this year.
So you've owned it 30 years,
Yep.
You've leased it out, and then come back to run it?
Yeah, lease run out and we didn't renew it, come back and tidy it up a bit.
Oh right, so you're a local from Koondrook?
Original, yeah. Then we just moved to Tokemore for 18 years.
So you haven't lived here all your life yet?
Yeah. Oh no, I moved away. Yeah, moved away.
And on top of that you're still alive, so you haven't lived here all your life yet?
No, not yet. Yeah.
So being here for owning the pub for 30 years, you'd know a fair bit about Koondrook, wouldn't you?
Oh, a bit of it.
A bit of it?
Yeah, I was born and bred out in Barron, but
yeah,
I'm a bit of a blow into Koondrook.
So 3 stone throws across the river,
yeah,
isn't it?
So Barron Koondrook is the get on a bit.
So what's the river that runs in between? That's the Murray.
Yep. Yep.
Do you caught many fish in that?
Yes.
And you're throwing them all back, of course.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah, as you got to.
Yeah.
So with being an actual local stalwart,
Yeah.
which a lot of people would not have known because you left for 18 years.
Yeah.
So you know the hotel was built around 1882, yeah?
Yep.
So when was Koondrook actually formed as a township?
Good question.
Yeah?
You need Johnny Thomas coming in tonight.
Actually, it was founded in early to mid 1870s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the school was formed in 1880, and then the pub in 1882.
Yeah.
And then they had that tramway.
Yeah. Just across the road there. Yeah. It's not running at the moment.
It's not running at the moment?
No, it's a bit behind, doing a bit of maintenance on the line.
Oh right, so what they do to the line, they buckle it with the heat?
No, I think that stopped in the early 80s. I think it stopped running.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, so that's
It just used to go to Crank.
over 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. A
So
couple of
it's-
these blokes that used to go to school on it.
Yeah? Crikey, don't know look that old.
Yeah.
I won't tell them that either. So with that, because as we noticed on the way in here, they've still got some of those little
Yeah,
huts there
yeah.
with the names of the places.
Yeah.
Is that where it stopped?
Yeah, that would have been pickups, yeah.
That's not only school kids, was it?
No, skilled with goods, dropping off goods and picking up goods.
Ah, right. So, with the businesses that were here, the original ones,
Yeah,
how many of those are still left going besides the pub?
original ones. The only general store.
Just a general store?
The Mylands used to be, they used to be a fuel station, but now it's just all boats and made up the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, oh, and the sawmill's still going.
Yeah, I noticed that before.
Yeah.
So that's been here right from the start, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not sawmills. Yeah.
So they were logging just logs or trees as well?
Trees, logs.
We're trying to make it as fun as we can. No, so all that's going on and everything else, and I've noticed a lot of the memorabilia you got around the pub, and some of those absolutely fantastic, like one around the corner with the old guns in there.
Yeah.
Are they?
Nah, the wife just collects them.
So they're not real, or they are real?
I think that, yeah, the one you're talking about, the diamond thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and what about the black one at the top?
That was found in the river actually.
Was it? So somebody, well, if it was found in the river, it sounds like years ago somebody was shot, and to get rid of it, they're throwing it in the river.
No, I think it might have been just lost at one of the old paddle boats, I dare say.
So they got paddle boats here?
Used to.
Used
be
to?
big. Yeah, it used to be fairly big.
Ah, right. So what are they going to another town now? Cherry or something, or just died
Yeah,
out?
the rivers gets too regulated now. They were going to put a new wharf in, they were going to get paddle boat, but the river's up and down too much and there's a lot of reefs there.
Yeah.
It's part of the water. So.
Gee, I didn't think there'd be that many here though, but
Used to be.
used to be. Wow.
Used to be fairly big. I've got some photos around of the old wharf and all that.
Yeah.
Used to be here. Yeah.
So is that the one that's just over the road there?
That's the new one, but that's where the old one was. Yeah.
So they've upgraded it to a new one.
Yeah, pontoons.
but
Yeah.
Paddle steamers don't come there anymore.
No.
So what are they going to use that for now?
Just tourists.
Tourists?
Yeah, wedding receptions and stuff now.
Just not jump off?
No.
So if you get there and you're having a wedding reception and you have a blue with the missus already, you can jump off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can throw her off it.
Yeah.
So with all the community and everything else around here, what's the sporting things that goes on around here for the community?
Yeah, it's Barham, Koondrook and Malinated.
Yeah.
So it's called the River Raiders now.
River Raiders.
Yeah. This used to be Koondrook Tigers, and Barham used to be called Border. They used to be Collingwood colours.
So they've gone to, what colours are they going to now?
Like an Adelaide jumper, I think, something like that. Yeah, something not real good.
They should have stuck with the Collingwood colours.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's football, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, they go all right. Yeah.
I noticed you've got tennis courts here as well.
Yeah, big tennis. That goes pretty well. And you've got a big golf course over in Barham. A lot of golf goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of courses around the place. Tuna and Green.
So you get out and have a swing?
No, can't stand golf.
You only got to stand there and swing a ball.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, so I know, we know that you're busy, so with everything else that's going on and being flat out and all, what does community mean to you and what does it mean to the pub?
Oh, you got to have it. You got to look after your locals. If you don't look after your locals, you don't have a local pub, do you?
No.
So when all this COVID thing finishes there, and your locals and that, I'm just going to put a beer on there from back in the process, just for the ones that stuck by me those times. But yeah, the restrictions at the moment, you ain't allowed 10 in this room, 10 in the bar and 10 in the other dining room.
And you can have 70 outside?
No.
Not big enough?
No, big, at 30 out there. So inside you got one every 4 square metres.
Yeah.
And one every 2 square metres outside.
Because I thought they changed it to 40 inside and 70 outside.
It goes on the size of your room, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
And no one really understands that. You
No.
get phone calls left, right and centre.
But one of the main things with the pub in the community and the publican is the pub is the central hub of any community.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what goes on, families go to the pub,
Yep.
husbands or wives or singles, everything else, they go to the pub, they take their family to the pub, their kids. And it's a social hub. And people come in for a beer or a coffee or whatever else, they just have a chat with the public or their mates, have a laugh and a call and everything else. And do you think that's the main focus of the community, which is the pub?
Yeah. You know, when we were shut, people were trying to have a beer at home and that just wasn't the same, was it? You know, you got your missus inside looking and keeping an eye on you. and on top of that, you can't have your mates over. No.
And right, if you've got a problem with your missus or your bloke or whatever,
yeah, you need to have a chat, don't you?
You need to have a chat, and you can't sit there with your mates and have your husband or your wife sitting there listening and going, "Oh, I knew there was a problem with me," and things like that. But
no,
yeah,
you get down and there, you can spill your guts a fair bit.
you can indeed. You can have a laugh and a cry too.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that at the supermarket or
No.
hardware store or whatever else that you go to, or
it's
general
good.
store.
No, it's good. Go to pubs and talk to your mates without interfering. It might be, they might reckon it's bullshit, but
They might do, but that's what mates are for, isn't it?
yeah, and you got to have. And then we've got ghosts in the place too.
Hey, you do?
Yeah.
How many spirits do you reckon you got here?
There's one the wife reckons walks around in a check shirt.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't seen him, but she does. We've got another place to take him, it's an old wine bar, and same thing there.
Same bloke?
Nah, different bloke. He's dressed in 3/4 boots and a trench coat and a slouch hat.
Well, he probably thought that it was too dark in here and he's put the blind up.
Yeah, and it's just bugging everything up, isn't it?
No, it actually hasn't. No, it's giving you a saintly glow now.
Jeez, that'd be the first.
All right, mate, because we know you're a busy fella.
Yeah.
So we're going to let you go back off and
Let's go and check me till all the locals would have helped us out.
and keep serving that ice cold beer. I'm not going to come and grab one in a minute.
Alright, no worries.
G'day everybody, Tim here again, and we're at Koondrook, and we're actually talking to Lloyd. How long have you been in Koondrook?
I've been in Koondrook 4 years now.
Only 4?
Yep.
And you were in Moolameen before that?
Yep.
All your life?
Yeah, I did a short stint in Swan Hill when I was a diesel mechanic, but yep, grew up in Moolameen.
So you got muscles. So, since you came to Koondrook, what have you been doing since you've been in Koondrook?
I actually run the local paper, so I own it and edit it and write stories and get to cruise around and visit communities. It's great.
Oh, right. So instead of just writing it all up, printing it and sending it out, you run it.
Yep.
So in the meantime, so what do you know about the Koondrook district and area, community-wise, and history of Koondrook?
Yeah, so Koondrook and Barham are sort of two states but one community. We're right here on the border, and we found out during COVID lockdown and how tough those border restrictions are on these communities. But the community here was founded on agriculture and forestry, so there's a rich forestry history here, paddle steamers.
So that was around 1870s, mid to early 1870s, wasn't it?
Yeah, somewhere around then, yep.
So and then the school came around 1880 and the pub came in 1882, and the railway line Kerrang to Koondrook was around about 1889, which was called just a shuttle or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, like a siding, yep.
Yep. So did you get to travel on that?
I know I look a bit dishevelled, but hopefully I don't look that old yet.
I don't know. I don't know if you're as old as me, or a little bit younger, but you hide your age well.
Well, ask me when I finish my walk, and I might look a hell of a lot older.
When you're going on a walk?
Yeah, bit of a wander.
So you're going to be a Mick Dundee and go walkabout?
Absolutely, yep. I think it's good getting back to nature.
Yeah?
Yep.
So what are you going for a walk for?
The water job, mate. The water job's buggered. So the government's bloody played merry hell, and our environment, our communities, and our economy's paying the price. So.
That's it, mate. That's for all communities along the riverways and everything else like that. It's not just in Victoria, New South Wales, but right throughout. That is devastating to all farmers and small town communities, isn't it?
Yeah, those effects flow on because the money the farmers spend go through the towns. They, their workers live in town, and money goes through the pubs. Their kids playing footy, flows right through the community. Like these communities rely on them.
So when it does that, what do you think it does to the mental health side of the communities and the individuals and everything else in those areas? What do you think it does to that?
It's just really challenging. It makes business challenging. And when a farmer goes through a drought or something, the hardest thing they face is they feel like they failed when really they weren't to blame. And that's one of the things about this water policy is they aren't to blame. It's the government and what they've done to them.
So they're doing everything they can to get out there and provide the best thing they can for their families alone, not only from themselves, their kids, their offspring, their grandchildren, their ancestors coming down the line, as well as their communities. So everything that's being forced upon that has got a huge detrimental health strain to the families and the communities, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, to give you a classic example, these farms before irrigation were, big stations. Moolameen and the like were big stations. They'd flood, they were on a floodplain, so they'd flood regularly, and then the government put through the irrigation scheme. They were gravity fed, so required no energy all from the source all the way up down to the farm.
But the whole idea of the water flowing down is to go down naturally, isn't it?
Yeah, go down naturally, and these farms were created. They were actually, most of them were soldier settlement farms, so returning soldiers were given a plot of land, and it wasn't very big because they had irrigation, so that was part of the deal. And now we've seen the government's taken the irrigation, and so we've got farmers on small farms that without irrigation should be big stations.
But that irrigation over the time and everything else like that has given birth to small towns and communities like Moolameen, Koondrook, Barham, and any other town along the Murray and any other waterway, whether it's New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, whatever else. Those waterways are the essential life support of any community.
Absolutely, and the environment that goes along with it. So everywhere this water's flowed for the last 100+ years, there's been birds and frogs and habitats developed and wildlife corridors, and the people went along with the water. And you're right, they all had footy teams and clubs, and they were buoyant.
And they're slowly dying out, aren't they?
Yep. Well,
because of what's going on with the waterways and everything else like that. If you don't get any water, you can't survive.
Yep. So from what's been taken out of our community, you could easily say $1 billion in productivity's gone.
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
You could hold that in one hand. Not.
I'll try.
But getting back to the wildlife and everything else like that, snakes and lizards, goannas, things like that, it doesn't matter what reptiles or animals whatsoever, besides a human being, all rely on water.
Yep. Absolutely. Water is life, and these communities need the water, and the environment in the communities need the water. So.
It does indeed. So, because I know Koondrook is
Yep.
a main area for, they've got their own sawmill and everything else, and wood logging and everything else, and I know Barham contributes to that as well.
Yep.
And a lot of workers come from across there
Yep.
into Victoria, which is just right across the river. So without that waterway, those forests can't survive.
Mhm.
So therefore, the jobs and everything else that is provided by the companies, doesn't matter what the company is, can't survive.
Yeah, so we need healthy environments, and the government's bought lots of water for the environments, but they're only looking at their little bit of the environment. So the environment through here and where the timber and the resources are, it's just as important to have healthy farms as it is the government-owned environment. So,
It is indeed, and every single thing comes all the way back to how does that affect individuals, families, communities, with mental health aspects and everything else that's going on,
yep.
that actually can help restore families.
Absolutely, without stable jobs, without schools, without services, mental health services, and watching their farms and communities suffer, these people do it tough.
And it's all because without water.
Yeah, there's some fundamental failings of the Murray Darling Basin plan, and I think we could address a lot of them. Some great solutions out there. The government's just got to listen.
With the water management and everything else going with water, with all the communities and everything else like that, what's it going to do for future generations, our kids, their kids after that? What effect and what impact is that going to have on communities, families, individuals mentally, especially for our young,
Yep.
your young, and your neighbours young?
Yeah, well, it has a flow-on effect right through the community. Everything from jobs to even young farmers, retaining kids in the communities. When I was young, well, not that young, when I first went over to the farm,
Yeah, I got to admit.
I paid $400 a meg for permanent water. When I left the farm after the basin plan, it got really into full swing. It was over $1,000 a megalitre for the same water.
That's a big jump, isn't it?
Huge. And I struggled to first get in, and I'd look at it now, and they're actually getting less water for the same money they're paying, or more than money they're paying.
That's just like buying a packet of chips from the shop, isn't it? You're getting a dearer price for a less product and
Yep.
more air.
Yep, they've lost about 40% of the yield, so how reliable it is gone down about 40% under the plan. And yeah. You
But what's that going to do for a community like Koondrook and Barham and Moolameen and places like that?
Well, for every drop of water that goes away, that's someone's job, or that's someone's role within a school or a hospital or a teacher. So the less kids we have, the less teachers we have. And it's the same with the hospitals and even our electorates. Our electorates get bigger every time we lose population, so we get less representation in the political system.
That doesn't really comprehend, does it? With everything going down, but something else going up. So speaking of the school,
Yep.
how many kids are in the school at the moment? Because back in 6 years ago, they had, I think it was 80 odd kids in the school, if that.
Yeah, well, I know the high school, I couldn't recite the primary numbers off my head, but the high school's lost 50% of the students since I went there. So I finished up.
That's only 10 years ago.
Well, I finished up in 2002, and then we did have the Millennium Drought, but we also still had some good years in that. We had some good irrigation years, and then we rolled into the plan, and yeah, things have been smashed.
But back then the drought was nowhere near as bad as what things are going on now. And I'm not talking about the COVID. I know
Yep.
COVID
Yep.
has devastated a lot of communities.
Yep.
And with the drought back then, compared to what's going on now with the COVID, how has that affected the communities and jobs and farmers and things like that, do you think?
Well, I did trim a few jobs there. Like the drought was very dry, and like we weren't even getting seed back for a few years. But we also had the knowledge that we're going to get back to irrigating. So during the drought, even in 2005, we had a really great year. Planted lots of rice, and that kept us going. But now this is nearly worse than the drought with the government reforms, because it doesn't matter if it rains, we still don't get the water.
And plus everything's closed down because of the COVID stuff too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a challenging 2020 for everyone.
Because you couldn't even go out and say, "G'day, mate," to your neighbours and everything else like that.
Yeah,
right? And
yep.
yourself being, you know, owner, operator, editor, writer, printer and everything else in the newspaper,
Yep.
you still found it hard to get out and talk to people because of all the restrictions and everything else going on. Now that's got to be detrimental to your own mental stability and mental health, doesn't it?
Oh, look, it was a challenging year. You got to keep your business rolling along, and we actually got restricted down. So we're on the New South Wales Victorian border.
Yeah.
So they brought in a border bubble. Now that ended up at 4 kilometres each side of the river. So for us in Victoria, we lived within the bubble, which meant we couldn't go outside of that bubble, or we couldn't go into New South Wales. So we were stuck within an 8 kilometre sort of radius.
So if you live 5k the other side of the border, if you live 5k there and you worked on the other side, you couldn't get there.
No, so we actually had people on the edge of Koondrook, on the edge of town, who couldn't go into Barham to get fuel or get food or go to work. They
So-
had to get a crank.
That actually impacted more on their mental health, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it isolates people. Like,
It does.
yeah, people need connectivity, and they have their regulars and they have their routines. They go to the shop and they, you know, the shop owners check in on them, how they're going. And
Because when you get isolated, you start thinking more. And the more you think, the more it impacts on your own self-esteem and confidence and mental health and abilities and of what you can and can't do. It compounds everything into one problem, doesn't it?
yeah, it does give you more time for yourself, and you're sort of less exposed to those who care about you when you're locked up.
We've noticed along here there's a walkway along the old rail system.
Yep.
There are all the carvings and everything else along that walk. You know much about those?
Yeah, so there's a mix of carvings that reflect the history of the district. So everything from midwives and timber cutters and workers, and yeah, it's got an amazing array. Even some of the native Aboriginal shields and spears and the different meanings they depict.
Yeah, and we've also noticed some of eagles in the area, local eagles in the area, native eagles.
Yep.
Murray cod,
Yep.
the laughing kookaburra.
Mhm.
Also, there's been native kangaroos and things like that. So they're all along this walkway, aren't they?
Yeah, there's all sorts of things along the walkway to depict our natural environment. We've actually got lots of special environment around here. We've got the Gumbow Forest and the Guttram Forest, Koondrook Paracuda Forest, Campbell's Island, and then there's a few more as you go up and down the river. Lots of endangered species, everything from the Murray Darling python, bushstone curlews, Australasian bittern. Yeah, yep, right across the district. It's great. We've got so many communities close by.
No, that's really good. And I've seen, since we've been talking, a lot of locals, even your own wife and children, have come through and said g'day.
Yep.
As we've been going, and a lot of locals inside too.
Yep.
Which is the epitome of any community, isn't it?
Yep.
So what does community mean to you?
Oh, community's a place where everyone sticks together and sort of has everyone's back, and you work for the greater good.
Yeah? So anything else besides that means community to you?
Well, lots of things. Small towns, clubs, pubs, businesses, you know, all the things that beef it up and all you guys promote. It's just bloody fantastic. Water
Don't forget your farmers in the community as
and
well.
the farmers.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Beautiful, Lloyd. Thank you very much for the chat, mate.
No dramas. Thanks,
Good on you,
guys.